Hi guys, this is Katie from Homo Librariensis. Thanks for checking out my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. It's already sweater weather here, so good thing I like sweaters. So today I'm going to do the Bookish boxes and Buzzwords tag, and I'm very excited because this is my very first tagged tag. I've done a tag I think that I didn't get tagged in, but this is a tag I was tagged in. So I was tagged by Remembered Reads, and it was created by LizzieFayelovesbooks. So I will link both of those channels down below and the questions. So it's a really fun tag. It's just kind of about what gets your reading mojo going and what really piques your interest. So this is kind of a whole bunch of questions about that, about really what draws you to books and what draws you to reading me. So the questions. The first question is, what's your go-to genre or favorite type of book? So the things that I'm drawn to are literary fiction, hard to say exactly which, sci-fi and speculative fiction by women and people of color and queer people. I am so drawn to nonfiction. I always have a huge list of nonfiction going on Goodreads. And then to break it down a little bit more, if the nonfiction happens to be about languages or science, medicine, or the brain, neuroscience, that's my jam. That you will get me to pick up that book right away. So, okay, what's the next one? So question number 2 is retellings you're drawn to. So I'm not really drawn to any retellings that I could think of. Not that I wouldn't read one, but it's not something that gets me to pick up a book. So I would say actually that I'm drawn to different accounts of the same event. So maybe not a retelling per se, but for example, I read Jon Krakauer and Anatoly Bukreev's books about the Everest disaster in the 90s when, you know, kind of everything went wrong and probably over a dozen people passed away trying to summit Everest and trying to rescue the people who went missing. So I like to read multiple accounts of the same sort of adventure or historical event and that kind of thing. So I guess retellings, that's the closest I could come up with. Number 3, lifestyles or careers of characters in books that you're drawn to. So I would love to see an exciting book about a speech pathologist, but I have yet to see something like that. But if you know of something, let me know. Otherwise, pretty much anyone in like the medical profession I like to read about. I like to read about adventurers, especially if it's sort of like archaeology or it's archaeologists or linguists. Those kind of jobs will definitely draw me to a book, either fiction or nonfiction. I know we could get into a lot of that kind of thing where a lot of archaeology is fairly problematic, but basically that's kind of what draws me in, those things. And then places or settings. So number 4, places or settings that you're drawn to. So, I kind of go through phases. I'm sure we all do. So I would like spend a lot of my younger years reading about World War II and then kind of the colonial period in India, like love books set in that time. There's still a lot of really good books set in that time. Right now, I'm mostly drawn to kind of Eastern Europe, Soviet states, and kind of Middle Eastern works that have been written by women, about women's stories. And I guess I like to read about any place that I've traveled before. So if it's a book set in a place that I've traveled, I'm much more likely to pick it up. So just to see if there's something familiar about it, or if, you know, I share a similar experience about a place as someone else. So the number 5 is relationships you enjoy reading about. So I know this doesn't necessarily mean romantic relationships, but I would say that any kind of queer relationship will probably get me to pick up a book. It's kind of great to see more and more representation, not only of just people, like I identify as a lesbian, so it's nice to see books about lesbians and not just gay men, although that's also representation. But then to see even sort of people who identify outside of that scope, so people with different gender presentations and sexualities, and it's just, and different forms of relationships. So that will get me picking up a book. So number 6, buzzwords in the title of a book. I don't think there's anything really in a fiction book that would draw me in, but in a nonfiction book, I'd probably be drawn in by anything to do with science. If there's the word brain or neuroscience or language, I will definitely at least pick it up and read the back and probably add it to my Goodreads pile. So, things on covers of books that draw you in. There's things that like send me away. I'm trying to think of things that draw me in. Just like really beautiful designs. I don't like anything too finicky or too, I don't know how to explain it. I just, yeah, if I really enjoy the design, then I'm going to be drawn in. That's kind of the main thing that would get me, I guess. And then like science things. So nonfiction buzzwords. So I've already kind of talked about this a bit, but I love nonfiction about the brain and language and anything that goes wrong with it, or different experiences. So if people dealing with different experiences, different mental health conditions, I really enjoy memoirs that are someone's experience with either a physical or mental health issue. If it's a health memoir, it will pick that up. So those. Oh, and I like to read books about adventure, and like for a while I went through a phase of reading every book I could get my hands on about people who run ultra marathons, because that shit cray. I find that fascinating that people, I mean, I like running, kind of, like I ran a half marathon once, but that's, wow, yeah. So I just love just that dedication and the mindset of people who run ultra marathons, longer than a marathon. It's fascinating. So I will pick up stuff about that any day of the week. Number 9, medical or physical conditions of characters that kind of draw you in. And pretty much, I mean, most things that are a different experience than mine draw me in. Specifically, anything neurological. So if someone has a neurological condition, whether it's a character or the author, or like if it's a memoir or a nonfiction, I'm definitely drawn in. Specifically if that neurological condition affects speech or language. What else? Mental health conditions, especially mental health conditions that maybe are less common or less well known. And like I said before, I'm going to read a health memoir, like Brain on Fire by Susanna Cahalan I don't know how to say her last name, but fantastic. I've read that book 3 times. 3, maybe 4 times. And I've passed it around to everyone at work. So love that book. So basically anything that I just don't know anything about, I want to read about it. Number 10 is a time of year, a time of history, or a time in the future that you like to read about. Again, it's supposed to be something I like. So I tend to avoid stuff that's written in sort of like, sorry, booktube, like Victorian times, or just not my jam. But what am I drawn to? Maybe more Edwardian times, like turn of the century, kind of like early 1900s. I like reading stuff that was set in the 80s, well, the 90s actually, because that's kind of when I grew up, so I relate to the 90s. What else? I don't know if there's a lot of specific it's more about place and characters than it is about time. So, bonus question. Any other bookish buzzwords or boxes that have not been mentioned? Like I said, I'm drawn to like queer stories, so anything like that. Anything to do with gender or sexuality, I will be on it. I will read that. I also really enjoy, like, which is very common here on BookTube, like small press. So I'm going to be more drawn, at least especially to purchasing a book that's published by small press to try to support that. And translation as well. I'm getting more into that. So translated, especially from, coming from an area that I'm not as familiar with, that would be something that I'm starting to get more drawn towards. So that's becoming a buzzword or a box for me, I guess. The second bonus question is any buzzwords or things that turn you away. So I guess I've mentioned a few. I kind of get turned away by anything kind of Victorian. Sorry. And what else? I get turned away by, I don't really like dragons or definitely not vampires or zombies or any of those things. If that's on the cover or on the book, I'm not picking it up. I even haven't read the one by Octavia Butler with vampires because I love her so much, but I can't bring myself to maybe to read that one. So those would be the things that I'm kind of turned off by. But this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for tagging me. I guess I need to think of some people that I tag, so I will think about that, and then I will post them after this, or post them down below. So thank you so much for checking out my channel. Obviously, like, if you saw this tag and you like the tag, then you're tagged. Do the tag. It's a really fun tag. So thanks for checking this out. See you guys next time.